Sheikh Rafiq al-Mansour, his name alone drips with power, wealth, and an empire so vast that even oil tycoons whisper his name with envy. He was the kind of man who didn't just throw a wedding, he orchestrated a spectacle. A wedding so grand, so opulent, that the chandeliers alone cost more than most people's lifetime earnings. The guest list, a who's who of royals, billionaires, and international elites. The venue, a palace dripping in gold, where every step you took echoed wealth, where every glass of champagne sparkled under the weight of pure luxury. And then there was Nadia Karim, young, breathtaking, a woman whose beauty turned heads and whose mystery kept men awake at night. A girl from a simple background who had just married into a world of unimaginable riches. Some called her lucky, others suspicious. But on that night, her wedding night, luck was the last thing on her side. Because by sunrise, the million-dollar bride was lifeless, cold, gone. And what happened next? Well, that's where things get truly shocking. The honeymoon suite, oh, if those walls could talk, draped in silk, scented with the most intoxicating perfumes, and lit by the soft glow of golden chandeliers. This was where fairy tales were supposed to come true, where whispers turned into moans, where love sealed its promises in the dead of night. But for Sheikh Rafiq and his radiant new bride, Nadia, this night would be anything but magical. Because somewhere between the last sip of champagne and the early whispers of dawn, something went horribly, horribly wrong. At first it was just silence, a stillness that felt too heavy, too unnatural. Then a scream so sharp, so raw, that it cut through the opulence like a dagger through silk. Servants rushed in, doors burst open, and there, lying on the pristine white sheets, was Nadia Karim. Pale as the moonlight, lips parted as if caught mid-gasp, her once glowing skin now kissed by an eerie, unnatural coldness. The million-dollar bride was dead. The room turned into chaos. Maids sobbed, guards barked orders, and Sheikh Rafiq, well, let's just say the powerful billionaire who commanded empires now stood frozen, his world shattering in real time. His wife, his brand new, breathtakingly beautiful wife, was lifeless in their bed. But how? Was it fate, a cruel twist of destiny, or had something much, much darker slithered its way into their wedding night? The questions came fast. Was she poisoned? Did she suffer? And the most scandalous of all, was the sheikh really the devastated husband, or a man with deadly secrets of his own? Because let's be honest, no one this rich, this powerful, gets through life without a few skeletons in the closet. But here's the real twist. This wasn't just a tragedy. No, no, no. This was only the beginning of something far more shocking. A bride doesn't just drop dead on her wedding night without raising a few eyebrows. And in the world of the ultra-rich, death is never just death. It's a puzzle, a scandal, a game where the stakes are life itself. The moment Nadia's lifeless body was discovered, the palace transformed from a love nest into a crime scene. The grand honeymoon suite, once a sanctuary for passion, was now crawling with investigators, forensic experts, and men in sharp suits with questions no one wanted to answer. The official story? A sudden illness, whispered among the elite guests as they sipped their morning coffee, pretending not to feast on the gossip. But behind the closed doors of power, whispers turned into accusations. Because let's be honest, Nadia was young, healthy, and in the prime of her life. People don't just fall ill and die hours after slipping into a bed draped in silk and promises. No, 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 someone wanted her gone, but who? The first suspect? The grieving groom himself, Sheikh Rafiq al-Mansour, a man who had everything except a history of keeping his wives alive. Yes, you heard that right. Nadia wasn't his first wife, and if you dug deep enough into his past, you'd find a pattern wrapped in velvet and stitched with whispers of tragedy. His first marriage ended in another unfortunate accident. Coincidence? Maybe, but twice. That's not fate, darling. That's a pattern. But hold on, let's not be too quick to blame the heartbroken billionaire, because there was someone else lurking in the shadows, someone with a motive much deadlier than love gone wrong, a jealous ex-lover, a bitter rival, a business deal that required one less signature on the dotted line? Or could it be Nadia herself had secrets so dangerous, so explosive, that her past finally caught up with her? The investigators had their work cut out for them, and trust me, what they uncovered next was so scandalous, so jaw-dropping, that even the wealthiest elites watching from their golden thrones gasped in horror. Because in a world where money buys silence and power buries the truth, the real question wasn't just who killed Nadia, but why. And my dear listener, the answer to that question would shake the foundations of an empire. Secrets. Everyone has them. But in the world of the rich and powerful, secrets aren't just whispered in the dark. They're locked away in vaults, guarded like treasure, because one wrong slip, and entire empires crumble. And Nadia Karim? Oh, she had secrets. The kind that could burn down kingdoms, ruin reputations, and, as it turns out, get you killed on the most important night of your life. The autopsy results arrived, and with them, chaos. Nadia hadn't suffered a sudden illness. She wasn't taken by fate. No, her body told a different story, one laced with a slow, deliberate poison. Someone had been planning her death long before she walked down that aisle, long before she smiled for the cameras, long before she kissed the man who was supposed to protect her. But who could have done it? The grieving husband? The envious socialite? The ex-lover who couldn't stand seeing her in another man's arms? Or was Nadia not as innocent as everyone thought? You see, when investigators dug into her past, they didn't just find a girl who fell in love with a billionaire. They found a woman who had been running from something or someone, a lover she left behind, a debt unpaid, a deal gone wrong. What was she hiding beneath that perfect smile, beneath the diamonds draped around her neck? Because here's the thing, people don't just marry into wealth without a story to tell. In Nadia's story, it was a ticking time bomb. And then, just when the case couldn't get any wilder, an anonymous letter appeared, slipped under the door of the lead investigator, written in ink so dark it might as well have been spilled from the devil's own pen. 6 words haunting in their simplicity. She knew this would happen. Wait, what? She knew. Oh, now things were getting interesting. Did Nadia know her fate was sealed? Did she walk into this marriage already tasting death on her lips? And if she did, why didn't she run? The sheikh swore he loved her. The guests swore they saw nothing. The staff swore they heard nothing. And yet, in a palace filled with eyes and ears, someone was lying. Because one thing was clear. Nadia didn't just die on her wedding night. She was silenced. And whoever did it wasn't just rich, wasn't just powerful. They were untouchable. Or at least, that's what they thought. Every story has 2 sides, the truth and the version money wants you to believe. And in this case, the deeper the investigators dug, the messier, dirtier, and far more dangerous the truth became. Because Nadia Karim wasn't just a beautiful young bride who got swept into a billionaire's world. She was a woman with unfinished business. And the people she left behind, they weren't just watching from the sidelines, they were pulling the strings. The first real crack in the case came when an old hidden bank account in Nadia's name was discovered, stuffed with money, millions, wired from someone who clearly didn't want to be found. But the real shock? The last deposit was made a day before her wedding. Was she being paid to marry Sheikh Rafiq? Was this love or something more sinister? And if she was being paid, was it a reward or hush money? Then came the biggest twist yet. A man, Omar Said, handsome, dangerous, the kind of man who could make even the most loyal wife second-guess her vows. A former lover, a secret fiancé, or worse, the real love of Nadia's life. Turns out Nadia and Omar weren't just lovers once upon a time. They were partners. In what? Well, let's just say it wasn't charity work. Money laundering, high-stakes smuggling, and let's not forget the little detail of an illegal diamond trade stretching across 3 countries. And suddenly, Nadia wasn't just a bride. she was a liability. So now the question wasn't just who killed her, but why? Was it Omar, furious that she was about to trade love for luxury? Was it Rafiq, realizing his perfect bride had been playing him for a fool? Or was it someone even more powerful? Someone who knew Nadia's past and made sure her secrets died with her? And just when you thought the case couldn't twist any further, the police received an anonymous tip. 3 words scribbled on a crumpled napkin, found in the back seat of a Rolls-Royce parked outside the palace. Check. The brother. Wait, what? The brother? Tariq al-Mansour, the sheikh's own flesh and blood? The same man who had been smiling in every wedding photo. The same man who stood inches away from Nadia all night, whispering things no one else could hear. Could it be that this was never about love, never about jealousy, never even about revenge, but about power? And if that was true, then Nadia was never meant to make it out of that wedding alive. Betrayal, greed, power, love, lust, death. A deadly cocktail shaken, not stirred, served on a silver platter at the wedding of the century. And now, as the dust settled and the palace halls echoed with whispers of murder, only one question remained. Who would pay the price? The police moved in, armed with clues, confessions, and a tangled web of deception so intricate it could make a seasoned liar sweat. Tariq al-Mansour, the sheikh's own brother, was dragged into the spotlight, his perfect smile cracking under the weight of the accusations. The anonymous tip? It wasn't just gossip. Turns out Tariq had everything to gain from Nadia's death. A bigger stake in the family empire. A chance to take down his own brother. A reason to ensure that Sheikh Rafiq never found happiness. But was he really the mastermind? Or just another pawn in a much bigger game? And what about Omar Said, the forbidden lover with a criminal past and a history of making women disappear? His name was on secret bank records. His calls were traced to Nadia's phone hours before her death. His anger, his jealousy, his desperation, it was all there written in blood. But was he truly the killer? Or was he just a man who loved the wrong woman at the wrong time? Then there was Sheikh Rafiq, the grieving husband, the billionaire prince, the man who claimed he lost the love of his life. But let's not forget, this wasn't his first tragedy. His first wife had also died mysteriously. Different time, different circumstances, but same ending. And now investigators were asking a terrifying question. Was Rafiq truly cursed, or was he the one writing these tragic endings himself? The case took a turn no one saw coming when security footage surfaced. Grainy, distorted, but clear enough to reveal one final, chilling truth. In the hours before her death, Nadia wasn't running away. She wasn't fighting back. She wasn't even scared. No, she was smiling, as if she knew exactly what was coming, as if she had made peace with her fate, as if she had written her own ending before anyone else could. And then came the final twist. An envelope, hidden in the folds of her wedding dress, discovered weeks after her death. Inside, a note scrawled in her own delicate handwriting. 5 words that shattered everything. I knew this would happen. And just like that, the case that began with a wedding ended with a mystery no one could solve. Because sometimes the most powerful people don't need weapons. They don't need alibis. They don't even need to run. They just need secrets. And Nadia Karim? She took hers to the grave, leaving the world wondering, was she the victim or was she the villain all along? Every crime has a killer. Every mystery has a culprit. But this one? Oh, this one had too many suspects, too many motives, and just when you thought you had it all figured out, bam! Another truth came crawling out of the shadows. And this was the kind of truth that didn't just shock, it ruined lives. Because you see, Nadia Karim didn't just marry into wealth. She didn't just marry for love. She married into war, a war of power, betrayal, and a family so twisted it made royal scandals look like bedtime stories. And at the center of it all, not just one murderer, not just one secret, but a game that had been played long before she ever stepped into that wedding dress. The security footage was re-examined, and what they found? Mind-blowing. Nadia wasn't alone in those final moments. Someone was with her, someone who leaned in close, whispered something in her ear, and then she laughed. She laughed. Why? Because the truth wasn't what anyone expected. She wasn't poisoned by a jealous ex. She wasn't taken out by a scorned lover. And she definitely wasn't a helpless victim. Nadia Karim was playing the game too. That's right. The beautiful, innocent bride had her own agenda, and when investigators dug deeper into her past, they found a second marriage certificate, a contract, an agreement, proof that Nadia had secretly married someone else before she ever said, "I do" to the sheikh. And the name on that document? Tariq al-Mansour, the sheikh's own brother. Wait, hold up. What? The same brother who was now being accused of murder? The same brother who stood at the altar smiling as Rafiq kissed the bride? The same man who had everything to gain if his brother's wife suddenly disappeared? This wasn't just a love triangle. This wasn't just a scandal. This was a setup from the very start. But then came the biggest shock of all, a final piece of evidence hidden in the unlikeliest of places, Nadia's own lipstick case, tucked inside a tiny vial of the exact same poison that killed her, which meant only one thing. Nadia knew about the poison. Nadia had the poison. And if Nadia had the poison, then maybe, just maybe, Nadia poisoned herself. So, was this a murder? Or was this a woman who played a dangerous game and lost? The truth was out. The pieces were there. And yet the only person who could explain it all was 6 feet under, wrapped in silk, with a secret smile still frozen on her lips. But in the world of the wealthy, no one lets a scandal die quietly. Oh no, this story, it was just beginning. Sheikh Rafiq al-Mansour, once the grieving husband, was now a man on trial, a man whose past came back to haunt him, a man whose first wife's mysterious death suddenly didn't seem so accidental. But was he a killer, or just another pawn in a twisted game of deception? Tariq al-Mansour, the brother, the secret husband, the man who stood to gain everything, he disappeared, vanished like smoke, his private jet taking off in the middle of the night, leaving behind nothing but questions and a trail of money so deep no investigator could follow. And Omar Saeed, the ex-lover with a criminal past, he was found 2 weeks later, not in hiding, not on the run, but in a 5-star suite in Dubai, sipping expensive whiskey and laughing at the headlines. Because in the end, he was never after Nadia's love. He was after her life insurance, a multi-million-dollar payout, signed, sealed, and delivered just days before her death. And with Nadia gone, someone had to cash in. But the real kicker? The final, chilling twist? When the case was officially closed, when the media moved on, when the dust finally settled, a letter arrived at the Al-Mansour estate. No return address, no fingerprints. Just a single sheet of paper with a message that sent shivers down the sheikh's spine. 5 words. The same 5 words that were found on Nadia's final note. I knew this would happen, which meant someone else knew too. Someone was still watching. And if Nadia's death was part of a bigger game, then the next move hadn't even been played yet.